Hi golfers, Rob Cheney here from GOLFTEC Singapore with another video. This one's a pretty special one. I'm going to take a guess that you've never been told this information before, and yet this lesson is a lesson I give to so many golfers on a daily basis here at GOLFTEC that I thought I should share it with you. So what we're going to talk about today could benefit you whether you're a brand new golfer just getting into the game and you're looking for somewhere to start, or if you're an established player who's struggling with consistency. We are going to talk about the finish, the follow-through positions in particular, and a drill to help you to find the end of the swing, which gives you that all-important destination to focus on once you've hit the ball, to ensure that you can start to finish the golf swing in a balanced, predictable and consistent fashion. So I wanted to share this information with you today because the frequency with which I find myself giving this lesson and this drill and helping people to understand this part of the swing is such that I realise there's so many golfers that would benefit from this information. And I think whilst there's absolutely nothing new under the sun and I haven't created any of this, I've studied it, noticed it, I have experience of teaching this for the last 20 years, and I've found that if you can give a golfer, a new golfer and an experienced golfer, a clear picture of the follow-through, the destination and the end of their golf swing, they can dramatically improve their ball striking very, very quickly. And it's often overlooked because as a golfer, and especially new golfers, they come to the game and they're fixated with hitting the ball, and they have very little consideration for the bit that happens after the ball's been hit. And I think that makes sense. There's some logic to that. They're very interested in how to stand at the beginning. They're very interested potentially in the backswing and how to move the club, but not much attention is given to what happens after the ball. And I see so much value in it that I want to make sure you hear this golf lesson today. So if you've watched previous videos of mine, you'll see my desire for a golf swing to have a fairly centered rotation on the backswing whilst maintaining this inclination to the ground. And if you followed along with last week's video where we were tracing the grid, tracing the arc on the follow-through, you'll also understand how the inclination to the ground stays constant on the follow-through as well to around about P8, where the club and the arms are parallel to the ground. And so that's really where I want to start. I'll give this lesson to, as I say, a lot of people, teaching them how to move the club from P7 to P8 in the follow-through. And a lot of times, when someone who knows how to do that does it, it looks very easy and it looks effortless. But I can promise you there's countless times where I try and explain that to people, they have a first attempt at it, and they end up standing up with their body, their legs and knees start to do really strange things, their weight starts to move backwards. And they can't coordinate that total motion in one go, at least not in the beginning. So I want to show you today how to break that follow-through motion down into its separate parts and then how to blend them all together. Mike Bennett and Andy Plummer define the three basic fundamental movements in golfers. We talk about extending, we talk about tilting, and we talk about turning or rotation. And those are the three dimensions and the three elements that we have to blend together in the right amounts to get a golf swing which has a stable axis from the front view and that has a stable inclination from a down the line view. If we end up adding too much or too little of any of those pieces, that's when a golf swing becomes unstable. Heads start to move left and right, maybe even up and down. Shoulders get too level to the ground. You see people early extending and moving away from the ball. All of those faults, if you like, are a symptom of the incorrect blend of those three fundamental movements: extending, tilting, and turning. And that's exactly how I teach people to do it, in three separate motions. So grab a club and follow along with me. You're going to take a regular setup position where the 7-iron, I'm bent forward to the ground. My arms are touching my torso. There's a small amount of pressure there between my upper arm and my chest. And all I'm going to do in the first bit is I'm going to extend. So I'm going to stand up. And in doing so, I'm not going to lift my arms away from my body. Okay, so the pressure that I feel at P1, where I've got the arms just resting on my torso, resting on my chest, it's the same amount of pressure I'm going to feel when I stand up. When I get to this point, I want to have the arms and wrists in the same condition that they were at setup. I'm standing up, I'm straightening my legs, I'm tucking my pelvis or my hips forward a little bit, and my spine is more or less straight up and down, maybe with a little bit of extension or backward bend in it. Once I've extended, the next piece is to tilt. So the tilt in this dimension, and we're talking about the follow through right now, is I'm going to move my pelvis as far to the left as I can. I'm not turning yet. Okay, you'll see from this camera angle down the line that I'm not turning my shoulders. I'm simply sliding my hips as far to the left as I can. If you look at that from face on, my belt buckle is now over the top of my left ankle. My arms are still in the same condition. My legs are still straight. So I've extended, which is the standing up, keeping my arms and wrists in the same condition they were at setup. Then I've tilted my hips and my shoulders to the right, my belt buckle over my left ankle. And the final piece of that puzzle is the turn. So now that I'm extended and tilted, if I keep my right shoulder nice and low in the same condition and I turn towards the target, and I get to the point where I reach around about 90 degrees of rotation with my shoulders and my hips, my club and my arms should be more or less parallel to the ground. That would be an exceptional P8 position to work towards. I've got my hips forward, my weight forward, my spine slightly extended, got my arms nice and straight, my hands and wrists haven't started to flip or break down. So that's the drill. That's the three-part way of finding the ideal follow-through movement or position in the swing. And it's especially useful for new golfers who have very little idea or understanding of how to do that. As I said earlier, it's equally beneficial for more experienced golfers who have destructive shot patterns and inconsistency that's caused by the irregularity and the inconsistency of their follow-through. Once again, as I said, I don't think many people give the follow-through enough credit or attention because it's happened, the ball's already gone, people think it doesn't really make any difference. I promise you, the follow-through is extremely important. I had someone in last week's comments of the tracing the grid video that we did on the front view, and someone said, very nice, talking about starting with the finish, beginning the fix or beginning the journey of improvement by having a destination and a clear picture of where to go. The analogy would be you wouldn't start out on a journey in any direction to any destination without knowing where you were going. And I think when you think about it like that, golf swings are similar in that sense. If you don't know where you're trying to get to or where you're trying to finish, every single swing becomes an individual snowflake or version of itself, and as a result of that, the outcome is often very, very varied. Once you've worked through that drill a few times, and another great thing about this drill is that you can do it indoors, you don't have to be at a driving range. You don't really even need to have a golf club if you don't have one, although I would recommend using a club if you have one at your disposal. But you don't even need a golf club, and with so many people stuck at home right now, it's a great way for you to still keep practicing your mechanics and improving your swing without the ability to get to the driving range. Once you've done this a few times in its individual parts, you can start to maybe blend the second and the third pieces at the same time. So you start to tilt, which is the sliding of the hips, and turning at the same time. And then once you get really familiar with this finish position, and this is the key piece here, once you get familiar with what this feels like, just practice moving the club from P7 up into that position. So you get familiar with what the destination is and what it should feel like and where you should be. Okay, I feel what that's like with my right shoulder lower than my left, my right hip's lower than my left, my weight is forward, my arms are straight, my back's extended, my spine's extended, my thorax is chest up. I know what that feels like, it's very familiar for me, but for you, you might need to practice that a few times to get really comfortable or understand what that should feel like. and then go back to the ball, put the golf club just on the front side of the ball. We're not going to make a backswing today. We're just going to practice going from P7 up into P8. And then the final part of the puzzle, if you are able to hit some shots right now, you're going to go ahead and hit the ball, working on smallish swings on the backswing, focusing primarily and almost exclusively on getting into this finish position. Decent contact, little draw. It's obviously not going to be a full shot. It's not designed to be. It's designed to train the mechanics. It's designed to improve your form through the ball so that the function and the outcome of the shot over a period of time improves dramatically. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. As I said at the beginning, this is a video and a tip that I don't feel is discussed anywhere near enough. And I say that based on my experience of teaching hundreds of lessons a week, trying to help golfers improve. This movement from P7 to P8, or the transition from impact into the follow-through, is an area that's not discussed enough, not understood enough, and certainly not implemented or executed well enough by the average golfer. Even at GolfTec here, we did a SwingTru motion study. 2 of the studies were based on where the hips are located at impact, so the importance of having the hip sway far enough towards the target when the golfer makes contact with the ball. There's a direct correlation there between handicap and how far forward or backwards a golfer's hips are at impact. So that's the hip slide bit. And another study that we did in the SwingTru study is at P9, right at the end of the golf swing, how better players have this extension in the top of their spine, so their shoulders are bent backwards more degrees, the chest up, than poorest players who struggle with swing speed and good contact. They would tend to be finishing much more with the chest forward or the shoulders more down and forward. So that's a great example, and again, further fact-based evidence of how the swing works. It isn't just about opinions, it isn't just about try this, try that. We can genuinely understand now how the body is supposed to move, how expert players move, and whilst many swings might look different, the signature underneath, the general pattern of how good players move is very similar. And the drill that I gave you today is going to help you to play better golf. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already and you're new to the channel. I'm going to follow up next week with another version of this. I'm going to talk about how these same principles and a drill that you can do to build out your backswings. If you're a new golfer, give this some practice. Try and work on the follow-through piece first, understand that destination, and come back next week and I'll show you how to build the backswing. Until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.